I'd like to call this meeting, the regular meeting of the Zion City Council to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
Commissioner McKinney?
Here.
Commissioner Deteen? Mayor Hill?
Here. Just like to announce that Commissioner Deteen had surgery today on his foot, and that's why he's not here. He called and expressed his regrets for not being here. I'd like to call on Pastor Hargett, please, to say a few words.
Let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, as we gather here today at this City Council meeting, we ask that you will be in our midst. Help us to make decisions that will be pleasing to you. Help us to be able to discuss the matters at hand in a reasonable way and be willing to give up having our own way. Father, enlighten our understanding, purify our every desire, quicken our winds, and strengthen our every purpose. Direct this hour, Father, to the magnifying and the building of your kingdom, and to the enduring good of us, your children, as we serve in this community as examples of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Father, let this meeting be productive, and as it shall be the case in all areas of our lives, help us to keep you at the forefront of our minds and in our hearts as we do the work that you have set before us. These are the things that we ask, we seek, and we pray in Jesus' most precious and holy name. Together, let all of God's people say, amen.
Amen. You stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4 on the agenda are agenda changes. Commissioners have any agenda changes? I would like to delete item 8C and item 8F. Department heads, any changes? Okay, number 5 is,
need a vote on that.
excuse me. Is there any discussion? Okay, clerk, do we need a motion and a, so moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 5 is citizen comments. First on the list is Mr. Bremner from Zion.
Thank you, Mayor, officers, gentlemen, ladies. I rise to call your attention to this letter that was sent out from the Honorable Senator Bush. She asks for support of Senate Bill 544 regarding essentially rent for the storage of nuclear waste over at the power plant. I have no opinion regarding that situation. What disturbs me is that apparently Commonwealth Edison or Exelon is being vilified in a way for something that is truly, that I don't consider to be their fault. 30 or 40 years ago, promises were made by the federal government to provide a nuclear waste storage facility. Indeed, I believe in excess of $12 billion was spent for a nuclear waste repository at Yucca Mountain in Nevada. All work on that stopped due to then President of the Senate, Harry Reid, who didn't want nuclear waste stored in his state. Because of that, Commonwealth Edison, or Exelon, has no place to put the stuff. Now, again, whether or not they should pay rent or however you want to describe it is not why I'm standing here. What I am saying is that regardless of the decision of the deliberations downstate and here, that it is not Commonwealth Edison's fault that it's sitting there. Again, whether they pay rent should be deliberated here and downstate, but in my very humble opinion, they should not be vilified as apparently they are. It's all their fault that they can't get rid. It's not their fault. They have no place to put it because promises were made 30 and 40 years ago and have been broken. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Next is Janet Jones.
Good evening. I have a question concerning the community service workers. I have been informed that community service workers are not allowed to work on private property. Now, they are mowing for us during the summer, guided by a city employee over them. So I'd like clarification on whether or not that statement is correct, that they cannot work on private property, and if so, how do we get around that as far as them cutting grasses? And the second part to my question is, I know the city, there's, as we all know, quite a few homes that are vacant here in Zion. However, how many does the city actually own, and what is the progress of those properties at this time? Are we looking to get them back on the tax rolls in the form of, Habitat for Humanity or Youth Build or something of that nature? Or what is our program for those properties at this time? Thank you.
I can answer the first question. Public service is ordered by the court. They're not supposed to do any work on private property. They have in the past, if it's a city-sponsored type of situation where the city might be paying rent or something. I know they helped out at the Warwick Building a few years ago, but that's because the city was renting the space itself down there. So that's one of the very few exceptions, but they don't want the probate workers going on private property.
Do they go on private property to mow?
Not to my knowledge, they do not. We have a summer work crew that's in the building department that does go on there. And some houses, public service has mowed, but they might be city-owned properties too, city-owned buildings.
And the difference is that one of them are, the one group is public service through the courts, and the other is they are paid part-time seasonal employees through the city, and they're allowed to go on private property.
Okay, so then no community service workers know any properties for the city that are on private property?
No, they should not be doing that at all.
No.
That's what the other guys are for.
Okay, I was under the impression from Mr. Oates that that's what was occurring, is that those community service workers were actually on private property mowing lawns. Okay.
No. You may see them at a house or something, and we've done that in the past, but that would be a house that was owned by the city.
Okay, thank you.
And the second part of your question, I'm not sure, do we own 2 properties?
We actually have 3 properties with houses on them right now. There were houses purchased through HUD a few years back, and then we have approximately about 7 vacant lots that we own and maintain.
And the vacant properties, we received a grant, and part of the grant, there's $100,000 that can be used as incentives for rehabbing properties and getting people to come back to Zion and live in Zion. And we're trying to put a program together with some of the local employers where they would provide an incentive and we would provide an incentive, and then their employees would get a grant from the city and a grant from their employer, and the idea is to get those people back living in Zion and having these properties back on the tax rolls and productive again.
Mr. Mayor, is that a grant application that's on the website?
No, that's not on the website yet. We're still putting that together.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Mr. Tracy Johnson.
Good evening and thank you. Tracy Johnson, I reside at 2307 Carmel Boulevard in Zion. and I just want to speak briefly into some of the comments that have been made during the city comment or the community comment portion of city meetings. My biggest concern tonight is about the questioning and the changing of the rules. I understand we've had a course of events that have occurred in our community that has not transpired since I was a young man in 1980, when one of my classmates fell to the same demise as the gentleman who died a few months ago. And I understand that people get uneasy when they don't understand a way a particular people or person may articulate their dress or their demeanor. And I know sometimes people get uneasy when people come from outside our community to address those in our community. But to start changing the rules now to the game is a very slippery slope. You know, let things go, and as time goes by, calmer heads, things will prevail. I just ask that if you're going to change these rules, be very careful. Be very, very careful in that, because there will come a time that you will want someone to come from outside our community to speak, and now what are the rules of engagement? So I just ask you to be cautious on that. Second, I'd like to know moving forward, what is the futuristic plans of the city? I know we have our elected officials and our appointed officials, but in my 23 years in Washington, there's a futuristic plan where I know federal funds come, where everything's put in 5-year increments. And then there's a map put there where the District of Columbia or PG County, how it's going to look in 5 years, 10 years, 15, and 20. And if the city's going to do that, will it be published on the city's website, or will it be put in our local newspaper? Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson, I can address I can address both parts of your comments. I think everybody in the city council is sensitive to the fact that public speaking at a public meeting is an important part of our democracy, and I think that we would be very careful in changing any rules. I also just want to be sure that you know that the city's putting together a comprehensive plan. It's a 20-year plan. There will be a open house here on June 11th at 3:30 in the afternoon, and I believe that's going to go from 3:30 to 5:30. 3:30 to 5:30, and then at 7 o'clock there'll be a public hearing with the planning and zoning. We'll be considering adopting the comprehensive plan for the city, and then on is it the 16th? The 16th of June, the comprehensive plan will be before the city council for adoption, and so if you come to the open house, you'll see exactly how it's laid out, what the consultants are recommending for the city, and you'll have a real good understanding of where we're looking for the next 20 years.
If you want to peek at it, planforzion.com or .org. You know what it is? It's .com. Planforzion.com. Some of the documentation that was used to develop that plan is on that website.
That's numerical 4?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, right. Plan, the number 4, Zion.
Next on the list is Mr. Robert Serrano.
Good evening. My name is Robert Serrano. I live in the 2200 block of Herman Avenue. And first of all, I'd like to take the time to thank Commissioner McKinney and Mayor Hill for taking the time out today to speak with me and my concern prior to coming tonight. Recently, it was passed by the council for the 2200 block of Hebron, 2211, to put the cell tower up. I understand that the zoning committee denied the request of this and brought it, and the council then, of course, overrided it. My concern is, with being in 2200 block of Herman, I'm going to be able to see this from my front yard. Even though I wasn't within the zoning distance, I'm still right across the street. So my concern is this. This started out with the Park District Board prior coming, bringing this to attention to the City Council. Park District Board President at the time was yourself, Mr. Mike McDowell, coming over now, sitting as a commissioner of the City of Zion. To me, it kind of felt that you brought over old business from Park District to city business by overturning the zoning committee. And I just felt a little compelled to bring that up. I'm a little concerned, and it upsets me a little bit, because I'm going to have to look at this for 25 years in my neighborhood. 2200 block of Hebron is numerous apartment buildings, which you're not going to get into a fight from, because a majority of them are vacant anyhow. And the east side of 2200 block, 2 owners only on that side. Rest are rental and 2 are vacant. So that whole zoning idea just kind of seemed like it was a nice little political package just to be able to put it in. And I just want to express my opinion that I felt taking the zoning board's recommendation and overturning it kind of set me in a different kind of way to look to see how our representatives are going to carry us out for the next 4 years. So, thank you.
Move to item number 6, the consent agenda.
Approval of minutes of a regular meeting held May 19th, 2005 at 7:05 PM. Bills, vouchers 120972 through 121019, drawn on First Merit Bank, total $170,672.78.
I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion? So moved. Second? Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 7, consider passing resolution as follows. Amending resolution 15-R-6, road closure for Nostalgia Days per Chief Dumian.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We already have passed the resolution to adopt the resolution for closing Sheridan Road on March 17, 2015. On May 27, 2015, City Clerk Diane Burkhamper was contacted by IDOT representative who informed her that there was a problem with the road closure resolution. He stated that the resolution did not include wording reference to the city's acceptance of liability for damages of any kind by closing the Sheridan State Route. He provided proposed language for the inclusion in a revised resolution. He recommended that the underlined text in the attached document marked revised as underlined be added to the resolution. I respectfully request the City Council consider adopting IDOT's recommendation to amend Resolution 15-R-6 by adding the proposed text. If approved, an amended resolution will be forwarded to IDOT immediately for the approval of the closure of Sheridan Road for the annual Nostalgia Days celebration. Just to clarify, we've always been aware that we were liable for any damages. It just was never included in the previous resolutions to close the road. Apparently somebody at IDOT was on their game and caught it, so.
Language comes straight out of the statutory provision for the highway code, which allows the municipality to request the road closure. So the language isn't anything overbearing. It's already in the statute, and it's what we're required to do. And it's conditioned to allow them to authorize us to close the road. So it's the only way you're going to get the permit for the road closure.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Nostalgia Days road closure, Resolution 15R-6, as amended, under the revised as underlined heading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 8A is presentation and discussion with Lake County Public Water District regarding capital projects. We have 2 gentlemen from Lake County with us, the Water District here today, and they will make a short presentation.
Mayor Hill, Commissioners, I'd I'd like to discuss the proposed Water District's $4.5 million bond issue. The bond issue, and also I will be asking that you consider foregoing the required 90-day notice and 30-day comment periods. The reason being is at our April 12th board meeting, the bank offered interest rates of, for a 10-year period of 2%, average 2%, and their interest rates are only good until July 15th. If we wait the whole 120 days, that would take us to August 14th, which is 30 days past their guaranteed interest rate. So with that, I would like to discuss the projects that this $4.5 million bond issue will be funding. The projects that we're asking for our intake bend systems, which are pipe collars to go around our raw water intake pipeline. The issue there is we are losing sand. We speculate it's from the marina. The intake pipeline used to have 4 feet of sand over it. Now the sand is below the midpoint of the intake pipeline, so we are installing pipe collars, which in your board packet you'll see a pipe collar. These pipe collars go around the intake pipeline, and H-piles are driven through both sides of the H-pile. They support the intake pipeline. If we do not do this, there's a potential of losing our raw water intake pipeline due to the sand loss, because there's no ballast on our pipeline, and these would support the pipeline. The second project that we would like to fund would be the rehabilitation of South Contact Unit number 2. This is a cost of about $500,000. The third project would be South Contact Unit number 1. This unit was last rehabbed 16 years ago, and if you look through your board packet, you'll see the desperate repair that this unit is in. With that, I would like to actually go to the letterhead, the Water District's letterhead, and this is kind of outlining some of the concerns Mr. Hill had noted in his letter to me, saying that he received our request for the bond issue. Some of the questions that he asked were, has the district looked at alternate funding? The district has looked at, we hired 2 grant writers. They are looking into grants. One grant person has contacted Illinois Emergency Management Association, and she's trying to figure out what we need to do to get funding through them. That started back in March. We're still working on that. And once we get an application in, once we figure out if we can get an application in, that will take 12 to 18 months. 18 to 24 months, excuse me, after submitting the application before we would know if we have funding. Metro Strategies is also investigating 4 other grants, one of them being the Community Development Block Grant. However, this grant, the district cannot obtain because only municipalities and townships can obtain this. So in order for us to get money from that, we would have to have the City of Zion or the Village of Winthrop Harbor underwrite it. However, right now, the City of Zion is using that grant money for their water mains in the city, so that block grant is no longer available to us. One other question that was asked is about the state revolving loan program. We looked at the state revolving loan program at the beginning of the process. However, when we were looking at that program, their interest rates were 2.5%. As I said, their bond interest rates right now are an averaging for a 10-year period are 2%. So we decided that the 2% is better than 2.5%. We would be able to save the city and Village of Winthrop Harbor money. The other additional funding, which we just found out about, Mayor Hill and I attended a SAM management meeting about 3 weeks ago, was an Army Corps Section 219 funding. However, the problem with that funding was that funding is not available for Lake County, Illinois at this time. Senator Congressman Dold was at a phone meeting last week talking with the Army Corps to see what it would take to get the Army Corps or have Congress change the law and have the Army Corps have the funding available for us. However, that funding at the earliest would be available in April 2017, but all it still hinges on how Congress handles it. So I'm not sure if Congress will vote for having the Army Corps funding or not. Another question that was asked was the totality of the project. Right now, this bond issue is asking for 48 collar bents for our intake pipeline. Yes, there will be a total of 98 needed. Right now, we have 15 installed, so there will be additional 35 bents which will be needed to be funded at a later date. I cannot forecast when that will happen because I don't know how Mother Nature is going to react with storms. We have ballast stone around the intake now that is sinking into the sand, and also to the south of our intake pipeline. Our intake pipeline runs east to west, and to the south, there's some big drop-offs where the stone is kind of sloughing off. So that's another reason we need to install bents so we don't lose the pipeline. Another question that was asked in Mr. Hill's letter was solids contact unit number 2. We had this rehabbed in 2011, however, the coating failed. And right now we are in the process of trying to recoup our investment into that tank. And we have to wait and see how legal matters how they proceed, whether we would get funding or not. According to what I'm understanding is our attorney thinks that we have a pretty good case, and in this case, if we get funds for that, we can apply that to the bond issue. Any funds that we receive in grants or in legal matters can be applied to the bond issue because all the bonds are callable at any time we want to call them. Then I guess if we can go to the other projects to be funded by the bond issue, because another question was asked, what effect it will have on your customers. Based upon the calculations from fiscal year ending 2015, it's going to cost 55 cents per 1,000 gallons with this bond issue. That's based upon the pumpage of 917 million gallons to all our customers. Again, that pumpage varies. It could go up or down, so the cost will vary depending on how much water we pump.
What are we paying right now?
Your operation and maintenance cost is 1.658 per 1,000, excuse me. I guess the next thing we could do is if you'd like to go to the bond schedule, it kind of shows you the interest rates for the...
I'd like to ask a couple of questions.
Yes.
First. I didn't catch your name, I'm sorry.
Don White.
Don, Mr. White. In your opinion, what's the cause of the loss of sand?
Well, we speculate it's the North Point Marina, because before the marina was built, we had inspections from 1969 to about 1983, and thereabouts, and we always had 4 feet of sand. We stopped inspections for a while. The marina was built. Inspections started again, and we started noticing loss of sand. That's our speculation. I can't guarantee that, but that's how we feel.
And it's my understanding that what happens as the wave action of the lake, it takes sand from way up north in Lake
Right.
Michigan and brings it south with the waves, and it actually takes it all the way down to the Indiana Dunes in Indiana.
Correct.
And what you're saying is that when the North Point Marina was built, that stopped the sand from coming down.
Correct.
Did the state of Illinois then pump or take sand to the south side of the marina and put it back in the water so that it could...
They have put sand on the south side of the parking lot of the marina. However, that's all washed away, and it hasn't really helped us at all. Right now, there is a proposal to put out some more reefs out in the lake to help the marina. That's not going to help us because it's going to block the sand from coming to us.
Did the DNR, when the marina was built, are you aware, did they make a commitment to replenish the sand that they were stockpiling on the north end?
I I don't know that answer. I can't answer that question.
Well, the reason I'm asking that question is I just wonder if the state of Illinois, who owns and operates that North Point Marina, is in any way responsible for some of the damage that's occurring to the vent systems in your intake pipes.
Okay, well, they're at fault for the loss of sand.
Which is causing the issue.
Right, okay, what has happened is, okay, we have contacted the state of Illinois DNR. In 2011, we talked with Todd Main, the senior policy advisor, to see if there was any funding or if there was anything they could do for us. Basically, there was no funding at that time. Again, in 2013, we went to Springfield to meet with DNR and some of the, I don't remember the names, I'm sorry, but some of the, I'll say, bigwigs. However, their take on, or the spokesperson at the time was that the marina isn't at fault. That was the person's attitude. That, no, that's not the issue. The issue is not the marina's fault. So, I mean, basically, that's where we have left it, because we have to prove that the marina is at fault. And actually, I would say with Governor Quinn 2 years ago or last year, he wrote in a paper about the funding for the marina, admitting that the sand loss was there. However, we have not pursued to see what we can do with DNR.
I guess, I mean, you're asking us to get a bond of $4 million, and I just wonder if there's other avenues of revenue that can be used to help fix this problem besides the city of Zion putting our names on a bond.
Well, again, we've been looking at grants. We have grants, looking at grants. We talked to DNR 2011, again 2013. Right now, the Army Corps, that's got to be at least 2 years on the road, and the issue really is, if you don't mind, looking at the intake pipeline. It shows the intake pipe.
You mean the diagram?
Yes. You'll notice red dashed lines and dark lines. Those lines represent the current levels of rock and sand. When we start getting to the midpoint of the pipeline, we start worrying about losing our pipeline. That's one reason we're asking for this bond issue. I mean, I don't think I can wait 2 or 3 years to see if I get grant money to stabilize the pipeline.
There was we had an informal discussion with one of the representatives from the Water District at our last meeting, and I'm not sure he had all the information, but he indicated that you're only able to put in 6 vents per year.
Right, but you charging it the way we charge it, through operations, maintenance, or R&R, renewal replacement. That's all. We've been charging it to operations and maintenance. We don't have the finances, or we don't have enough money to keep doing that. Otherwise, your water rate would go up really high.
No, I guess my question is, was it 6 vents per year based on finances? Or I was under the impression that there was only time to put 6 vents in per year.
No, our contractor says he can put 20 vents in a year. Our problem was cash constraints. We can only afford to put 6 in a year.
I guess, for members of the council, Don and I were at a sand management meeting, and I mean, this issue is way beyond us. If people go down to Illinois Beach State Park right now, we need to change the name, because there's very, very little beach left. If you go down by the campgrounds, that's almost all gone, and it's a serious problem that's affecting, our water. And I'm troubled by the fact that the construction of the marina caused the problem, and it's my understanding that there was a commitment, and they had moved sand from the north side to the south side so the littoral drift could continue to happen, but then they ran out of money, so they're not doing it anymore, and then it falls on us, and I'm not sure what we can do about it, other than.
Well, the issue
$4
is,
million bond.
again, I mean, if we don't have ballast stone on the intake or these pipe collars on the intake, there's potential of losing the intake, which means you guys don't have water. Not just,
Sure, it's a big problem.
I understand it, but being a manager there, I don't know how else to handle it other than this method at this point in time. Again, the bonds are they're callable, and if we get funding, the intent is to use those funds to pay off the bond issue. That's the intent.
So the fee structure that you have, that you collect from our municipality, was never intended for capital improvements like this, or for this type of?
Not this magnitude, not
Yeah.
this magnitude. Not at all, no.
Director Colangelo?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First of all, no one's disputing that this needs to be done. We've talked about this for over a year at our technical advisory committee meetings. One of the questions I had here, we were already looking at a rate increase for this year, going up another 9 cents. Was 6 of those beds included in that one? So I guess the number, does that get removed if it's part of the 55, or are we talking 48 beds and now we're up to 54?
The rate increase would include last year's beds that we installed, because we have our audit done at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So it would include the 6 beds that were already installed. The 48 that I'm talking about now are from this summer forward.
Okay, because I think what a lot of people may not understand is the city of Zion is on the hook for approximately 80% of this.
69%.
69?
Yeah.
How can we get 79.5 in here? I'm sorry.
It should be 69.2, I thought.
On debt service.
I'm
But
dead.
we're billed on usage
Right.
of about 80% or 79%.
Which is, the reason I say that is because that's how it gets covered.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Okay. That's why, on our end, that's why, my biggest fear is if we go to bond for the total amount, that we're not gonna be successful in obtaining a grant, because I think whoever awards them is not gonna see a need for it. That's just my opinion, that's my biggest fear. It's a good rate and everything else like that. Is there a possibility that the district could bond at a lower amount if you could only put, say, like you said, they can only put 20 in a year, for example, and that would give us some time for all the parties to try to seek additional funding to try to get through that?
Well, the attitude of the board is, or my feeling that the board is concerned that we are, based upon the drawing again, that we are losing stone, or the stone's starting to sink, and that there's no guarantee that we'll get funds. If we don't take advantage of the low rates now, those low rates may not be there in the future, which would cost the city even more money.
Well, and I can agree with that, but people need to, because a lot of people don't understand how your entity works. The water district is not a taxing body. It does not tax, you don't pay a tax for that. So basically, everything's based on water rates through the customer. So whatever, that's how they're funded. So, and I know I've brought this up before, you don't want to saddle the residents with everything all at one time on a rate increase, but we're not in a position to just hand it over. I mean, at some point, if the well's dry, the well's dry.
Yeah.
What happens in a situation like that? I mean, this is bad enough. I mean, if something really went bad.
Well, if we are not able to fund the events, obviously, parts of the intake could fail.
Mhm.
I really don't have, other than that, I don't have a resolve, I don't have an answer. Based upon the people I talk about with grants, everything is 2 years down the road, and there's no guarantee on anything. That's one of the issues. If we wait and keep waiting, I understand your customer base, because we're passing it on to your customer. However, if we don't do anything, we won't have an intake, and no one has water. Fires can't be fought.
No,
People can't drink.
No one's disputing that. I'm not disputing the account. I'm just, is there a possibility that we could even do half the project? I know it's a risk that you may lose that good rate, but I'm not an accountant, I mean, he is.
Well,
Maybe he could chime in on it. That's my concern, is that That way you could still seek the addition, because I firmly feel that that if we bond the total amount, that searching for the grants could be futile. They're gonna look at us and go, you don't.
They're gonna say, we're not gonna reimburse a cost that you've already incurred, we're gonna give it to XYZ village.
And
that needs it now.
I guess I'm thinking along the lines of, that you guys are, is there a possibility that we could fund 20 vents with a bond issue, and in the meantime, the Lake County Public Water District would be very aggressive, looking for money and looking for grants and trying to get money out of the DNR or whoever might be able to help us here. And then if we have to fund the rest of it and go to another bond issue next year, I guess it would be the council's decision whether we roll the dice and say, okay, we think we'll have a 2% rate next year, or maybe it'll be 2.5 or 2.25, and then we go out for the rest of them. But I mean, I understand your urgency and our urgency.
Right.
Because nobody wants the pipe to fail. But please understand our urgency that with 55 cents, that's raising the rates almost 33% for all of our residents, which gets a little touchy.
I can't really make that decision. That would be up to the board. So I can't go that route at this point in time.
May I make some comment here? I'm Jerry Topsett, I'm the board chair. And one thing Don's forgetting about is doing 20 vents versus 48 or whatever the number is. By doing 48, we save $200,000 or $300,000 in construction costs. That's a significant amount of money. Also, as part of this package, we're going to refinance the 2009 bond issue and save another $120,000. So this whole thing is put together to save money, not just spend money.
Do you have the ability to refinance the 2009 bond issue on its own?
Yeah.
No, part of this package. The bank does.
Would you be able to refinance if the bonds were a lesser amount, if it was $2 million instead of $4.5? Okay.
We didn't have that discussion.
Do we know how many of the vents, I know you on the diagram, but how many are emergent versus, I mean, you said we have 96 or 98 that are the whole thing. If we're saying 48 now, we're anticipating the rest are going to need to be done at some point.
Right.
What are the critical, I mean, are there 20 that we're immediately concerned
Well,
with?
if you look at the diagram, you'll see a few spots that are in need. Where dashed lines are midpoint of the pipe with the areas where they're needed. That would be by the two bends near shore, riser number 2, and between riser 1 and 2.
So that would need two bends?
No, there's more like, these bends go over 32 feet.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking about at least 15 to 20 bends at least in those areas.
I guess my concern is the same as yours, Mayor Hill, that IDNR says, you know, whoever agrees or disagrees or whatever, that's the issue. They go, there's no money. There's no money here either. But we're at, you know, it's going to get passed through, and we're asking our residents to do it. Why are they getting off the hook for this? And I know it's been since 2013, you said the last time.
Right.
But we haven't gone back and pursued since that was signed saying, I mean, they're still going to say there's no money. But I don't know that that's an acceptable answer if there's other avenues we could pursue down that road. And again, it's going to take a couple years before you get an answer on that. But can we do something to address immediate issues to buy that time versus take on the whole cost?
Again, I cannot make the decision on whether we can do 20 or not. I will have to bring it back to my board of trustees
and discuss it with them, because they are responsible for the plant, or the intake pipeline and the pipe, or the plant itself.
What would your recommendation be to the board? Can you tell us that?
Well, I would still prefer to see the 48 to be safe. I would have to really sit down and calculate the exact amount needed for this. But I'm sure it's going to be at least 20, because 32 feet doesn't cover a lot of pipe. So at least 20, yeah, at least 20. I'm thinking a little more than that, personally, by looking at my diagram.
And I guess my question, how does this work? I mean, if we decided that we only wanted to fund 20 bands, could you go ahead and just do all 40 of them anyway and just issue the bonds?
Yeah, we can do that.
I'll just more because we have other favorable interest rates. We did do this based on the contract we have. We're trying to save money. I understand. Catch 22.
And then the issue of the, I hate to change the subject, but the issue of the
Sounds contact unit?
yes, is that number 2 or
Number 2.
Number 2 is the one that you're in litigation over.
Yes. And like I said, bonds are all callable. Whatever funds we receive through this matter will be applied to the bond issue.
Don, do we expect that you'll be back in 2 years, having to do this again for the next 48?
I don't know what Mother
I
Nature...
mean, if it's, I mean, because the recommendation of the project's been to do 96
Total of 98. We
or
got,
98 or
if
whatever.
we do the
it is.
48, it'll be 63% of the pipeline covered. So you need another 30 bench to go, or 35 bench, I think it is.
Because we have one bond issue right now, this would be a second one. And if you come back in 2 or 3 years, say it's 3 years down the road,
What can I flip side that and say, well, if 3 years from now, we
We'd have
might be able to
three-
have grant money by that time also.
for the other half is what you're looking
Right.
at? Well, I firmly believe that, I mean, the district needs to go down 2 separate avenues. They need to stay with the state, but I think it's futile given the financial state of Illinois. But I think this needs to be a federally funded project somehow. So I don't know if it's through Congressman Dole and it moves up the chain to our 2 senators or whatever, but I just don't see how it's going to get funded without federal funding. That's just me thinking out loud.
Well, Mr. Monk, I'd be interested in his views.
Mr. Monk, would you care to comment?
Hopefully for some clarification, the city's general fund will not be affected by this endeavor. But the enterprise fund, as Ron has alluded to, will be affected by it. And there's a history that we are bringing forth this recommendation because of the history. And the history is pretty factual. And being proactive in this situation, I think that, as the chairman has said, would save money for all of us. And I think that you very well know because you was there for a while. So you pretty much understand, probably better than the rest of the commissioners. But this isn't something that we didn't trouble over, question. We pursued just about every avenue of the state. And the state is not willing to relinquish or support this endeavor as far as we know. So it is something that needs to take place. And so without belaboring it and trying to sugarcoat it and inject other speculation into the situation and keep it on facts and on focus, then we'll recommend that, I believe it's 90 days that we want to get started with this project and go for a 30-day window. And I think the finance director is aware of that. So, And with that said, then it's in your hand.
Are there any other questions? Or-
Just to clarify, the impact of this would be ultimately with the regular rate increase and then the additional amount from the bonds, that we'd be adding an additional approximately 64 cents per 1,000 gallons to resident water rates just to cover the pass-through costs, which is about a 16% increase in water rates. We charge, it's $4 per 1,000 right now.
Right.
That we charge the residents. So that would be about a 16% increase in water rates, 64 cents per 1,000 gallons.
Okay, the 1.65, just,
1.6 per thousand.
Director Nabel, just to clarify in my own mind, the 1.658 is what the city of Zion is buying water from the water district at that price, correct?
Correct.
And then the $4 is our additional amount that we charge to maintain
That's
the
water infrastructure,
our
salaries, maintenance, et
infrastructure.
cetera. Correct.
Okay. All right. So it's a 16% increase, is that what you said? And I want to, I guess I just want to be sure that I understand that on number 2,
Yes.
you've already paid for that work to be done, and it failed,
Correct. The coding failed.
and so part of this bond issue is to have it redone.
Correct.
And we paid 80% of the cost to have it done the first time.
Correct.
Okay, and there is a true understanding that if you prevail in that litigation, that amount will come off of this present bond issue that we're looking at.
That's how the board's been talking, yes.
That's my opinion, moving forward.
Is there, what's the wish of the council?
We don't have to approve this tonight, do we?
Well, they're asking for a waiver of there's a 120-day period of, what's 90 days, and a 30-day response time.
Right.
So they're asking for a waiver on that, and then they can go out, we're actually not going to approve anything. All we're going to approve is whether we give them the 120-day lead time now. Because if we would do nothing and say, no, we're not going to give it to them, they couldn't do it for 120 days, which I guess wouldn't accomplish anything. But I think we can make a request that if there's some way that the water district can fund part of it, give us a break for a while, and then if we needed to do this again a couple of years from now, get some work done, that would be great for our customers that we're selling water to. But all we're doing is, they requested a letter from me waiving the 90 days and the 30-day response time, and I sent a letter back asking all the questions that you have here before I was going to approve the 90-day and the 30-day wait time. So,
If we approve it tonight, to waive that time period, is it locking us in to then proceed at our next meeting with a vote on a bond issue?
no, we won't issue the bonds. They will issue
They're
bonds.
issuing the bonds.
And whether, to be absolutely blunt about it, it doesn't make any difference what we do. The water district can issue $4.5 million or $4 million or $2 million or whatever it is for the cost, and we have no say in it. We really have no say in it.
Correct.
They will provide the services of getting the water to our customers, and we pass it through.
You're only responsible for 69% of the formula. It's not all you.
Right, okay. Ron?
Just one last question, hypothetical. Because you said this was a 10-year bond?
Correct.
If, I know we can't do it because of contractual reasons, when's your drop dead date to have this secured by? I missed it.
July 15th is when the interest rates will no longer be available to us.
Because the city's not going anywhere, you guys aren't going anywhere. What if that was a longer-term bond? How does that affect the rate if there was a contract extension done?
Well, the problem, okay, we can go back. Okay, first off, July 13th, or 15th is a due drop date for the guaranteed interest rates.
Right.
If we wait, or if we go past that, there's no guarantee we'll have the 2% rate. And how long will it take if, hypothetically, if we try to get an addendum done to our contract, how long would that take? And you never know what your interest rates are going to do in that period of time.
No, what I'm saying is if that's your date, because there's another meeting in June, because the reason it's short term is because you can't have a bond exceed the length of the contract that we currently have
Right.
with the water district.
And how many years are left?
So 11 years left. 2027 is the end.
So if we came to an agreement in the next week or 2 weeks, the next city council, that we would extend our contract to 20 years, can you then issue a 20-year bond here, and would that be cheaper for us?
I can't answer that question, you guys.
I mean, it's worth asking, I guess.
Interest rates are going up.
No, but I mean, if we could do this all by July 15th.
So if the long-term
Yep.
bond, they're gonna go higher. This is a low of 1.09 and 3.5, something like that. You're not gonna get that on a 20-year bond.
No, I understand that, but the principal payment is significantly higher per year with the short time period. And although the interest rate might go up, the principal payment over a long period of time might be easier on our customers.
Again, I without the board approval, I can't say which way I can go.
Well, could someone approach your bank or whoever you're getting the bond from, just to ask? So, I mean, if
Yeah.
we're talking about running some quick numbers to find out, or you know.
Run a 20-year quote on it.
Well, I can
And the
contact
Dave
the
would
bank
know that
tomorrow
anyway.
and see what their take is on things.
Just see what that amortization schedule is, see if it'd even be worth it, and then
Well, I can pursue that, I guess.
Just a thought.
we could still, on the June 16th meeting, waive the review and approval.
June 19th, I think it is, Tuesday, third Tuesday.
I mean, unless you're renegotiating the terms of the contract, an extension should be that hard, I wouldn't think.
I wouldn't think so either.
There's 3 parties involved. Sign, Menlo Park, and the state of Illinois.
Now you just made it a lot more complicated.
Yes, it
I don't
is.
know if it'll be able to be.
We can't get the state of Illinois to do
Are their contracts concurrent, same as ours, Jerry?
Yes.
Well, they're all expiring at the same time?
They're all basically the same.
I just can't win on this one.
It's not an easy solution, no. They're trying to do something that saves the most money. 10 years is a long time.
I was estimating that this would probably cost an average water user resident anywhere between $6 and $10 more on their bill per quarter. An average user, that's what you're looking at, if you're a resident.
I guess when you put it in those terms, and the alternative is
No water.
no water. It's pretty cheap.
Water rates are going up all over.
What action can be directed to pass the rate for 90 days? Says that's the action to take. It just says discussion.
Right. It says, well,
Yeah, I guess.
we don't have to.
Okay.
The city to
Okay, I'm wondering if there would be a motion to authorize me to write a letter to waive the 90 days and the 30-day wait period.
So moved.
So moved.
We have a motion
Is there a second?
and a second. Is there further discussion?
Mayor, I request from the city that they even write a letter.
That's it.
They don't need a formal motion or ordinance.
You're looking for a letter from me. You don't need a formal motion. Or a
Right, just a
ordinance.
letter would work, yes.
There's a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Item 8B is consider intergovernmental agreement between the City of Zion and IDOT for maintenance of Sheridan Road and Route 173 Lewis Avenue to Sheridan, for Director Colangelo.
Thank you, Your Honor. In your packet is an intergovernmental agreement between the Illinois Department of Transportation and the City of Zion. The current agreement between IDOT and the City for maintenance of Sheridan Road and Route 173 Lewis to Sheridan is set to expire on June 30th, 2015. IDOT is requesting that the city renew the agreement for an additional 10 years. Estimated compensation to the city during the life of the agreement is $559,200. Maintenance responsibilities include sweeping, trash pickup, pothole repair, snow and ice control, and pothole crack sealing. Staff requests and recommends renewal of the agreement.
So moved.
Have a motion? Second? For discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Number 8D is discussion regarding the investigation of a fire protection district. A few months ago, a number of city staff members were discussing ways to keep taxes down in Zion, and were asked to think outside the box a little bit, and they did. And Director Nabel and Chief Lewis came up with considering consolidating the fire departments of Zion, Beach Park, Winthrop Harbor, and Newport Township into a fire protection district. The thought was that with consolidation, perhaps we would better be able to use the personnel in all the districts, and some of the equipment that was required for all of the districts, the requirements wouldn't be quite so significant. We had talked about it in we talked about having a feasibility study undertaken to see if this would in fact save money for all the districts involved. And we decided that we would like to participate, and a letter was sent to the other departments and the other fire protection districts and to see if they would participate in the feasibility study with us. At this point, Zion, Beach Park Fire Protection District, and Newport Township Fire Protection District have decided to go forward with the study and see if consolidation would save us money. And it's my understanding at this point that the Village of Winthrop Harbor has declined to participate. And I'm wondering if there's an update on where we are in this process, and if you would share that with us.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Currently, we did get that letter, and the next step now, it's a two-step process. Zion Fire and Rescue will look at to become a fire protection district itself. That's the first step. And obviously, this would be put forth to the voters. And what that does is, it's the first step in that consolidation aspect. Once if if the voters decide to go with a district for the Zion Fire Protection District, for lack of a better name, then we will contact, the RFP is being drafted as we speak. It'll be sent out. It covers cost of personnel, station locations, your equipment that you have, the taxing bodies, the pensions, some of the departments are union, so the contracts, all that is looked at to see if it is even feasible. If it is feasible, and if it ultimately will save redundancy and save money, then it would be put back to the voters again, once approved, to see if they truly want to consolidate. And I'm talking about the residents of Beach Park, residents of Wadsworth, and then the residents of Zion as well. So everybody has to participate. So we are currently in that step of developing that RFP, the draft for proposal on the consolidation of the district first, to make sure that the Zion Fire and Rescue, it's feasible to become a district, and then the RFP for the consolidation of the 3 surrounding communities.
From my perspective, Mr. Mayor, there's a couple of criteria that I'd like to see from this study. First, it's a worthy project, but I would like to see that a reduction in the tax levy be a result of this study, that it comes back, the findings come back, that it will actually save taxpayers money by spreading the tax burden out among the communities that are going to house this district. And then secondly, I think a criteria needs to be that the level of service that we currently provide, which is excellent service from the Zion Fire and Rescue Department, stays the same. And the other communities, I think, would probably have that same criteria, that their levies would either be the same or go down, and their level of service would be the same. So that's what I'm anticipating from this study, and I hope it does result in saving taxpayers money.
Our legal counsel has been, I've asked our attorneys to look into putting together a step-by-step map to follow to have this done, and can you report on that?
We just started looking into that, Mayor, when you asked late last week for us to undergo that. So we'll report to you as we get to that. But looking at the timeline of when things need to be done and how they're done. So we're just starting, so I have nothing to offer at this point.
And I guess from my perspective, and I know talking with Commissioner McDowell, I think we both believe that time is of the essence, and we would really like to see this happen fast. If the study happened fast and get the results fast, so that we can move on it if it does prove to be beneficial.
It has to be approved by the voters. It has to be a referendum.
Yes. Are there 2?
There's 2 aspects of it. One is to become that fire protection district for Zion.
So you have to become a fire protection district?
Once we become a district.
Prior.
Okay.
Right.
Then we discuss the option of consolidating. And again, it gets put to the voters. And really, it is about education. You will not see a diminishment in services whatsoever. In fact, we pride ourselves in the service we provide. And I'm sure I can speak for the other communities as well. Newport Fire Protection District and Beach Park do a phenomenal job for what they have. You would notice some savings in reduction of equipment. Currently, Beach Park has a ladder truck. Zion Fire and Rescue has a ladder truck. Those are not cheap items. To replace one currently could cost anywhere from $800,000 to 1.5, depending on what type of ladder truck you get. So if both communities did that, there's $3 million of redundancy. So personnel, and this is what that study would look at, is personnel, locations. Would it be better suited not to lose or decrease personnel, but maybe move some of the personnel to other stations in those 3 departments or 3 communities to better serve all of us? If Zion had a rescue call right now and we got an ambulance from Beach Park or an engine to back up our ambulance from Zion, the customers would not even notice a difference because that immediate care is still there, but your personnel or equipment might be spread out more evenly. So 2 parts to the study. The first is the district, then that consolidation.
And I guess I'd like to commend all the members of the Zion Department, the Beach Park District, and Newport District. This could be changed, and it's my understanding that the response from everybody has been fairly positive, at least along the lines of let's look at this and see what the benefits are. And I think it's all three should be commended. All 3 departments should be commended for. Please pass that along to.
We will.
Because I know that it makes people nervous.
Yeah, and there's another aspect. If the voters decided not to consolidate, we could always look at type of sharing of services. We do that with our ARAs, what we call automatic aid agreements. Those are, we can look at increasing those, sharing a vehicle. Those are other options as well down the road that Chief Lewis is currently looking at. We don't know at this time what the future holds, obviously, if that's feasible, but we wanted to go this route and then look at other aspects as well. So we are trying to look at ways to save.
Thank you. Item 8E is discussion regarding the budget for fiscal year May 1, 2015 through April 30th, 2016. And I'd like to see if we can schedule 2 workshops. I would like to see the budget adopted hopefully by the first meeting in July. But I think we need to get 2 budget workshops scheduled. You have a handout in front of you, and I'll let Director Nabel explain what you have in front of you. And I would just say that it's important this year. We are looking at some significant deficits right now. We have 2 new commissioners and a mayor who's been on the city council for 2 years, and there's just a lot to try and understand about the budget. And I think 2 more workshops will be helpful so that we can come up with a final budget. And like I said, I'd like to get 2 workshops scheduled. And we also need, I think, to give the department heads a heads up on exactly how much we think we need to have cut, and how much we want to take out of the cash surplus that we have right now. So, Director Nabel, you want to explain what we have in front of us here?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to skip the first page for now, but what's attached is a copy of the budget. Nothing has changed from what's been presented at prior workshops, other than try to make it a little easier to read. I've done some subtotals by department to show that there's, to be able to separate the chart of accounts a little easier, so you know what accounts go with which departments. But the total overall deficit, unfortunately, is still there. I've also talked in the past, if you go back to the first page, I've talked about cash reserves in the past of about 1.2 million, and I wanted to give a little bit of a clearer picture on where that number is coming from. Basically, we looked at the end of our fiscal year, April 30th, 2015, we had about $3.8 million cash and investments on hand. Now, about $470,000 of that was restricted for motor fuel tax. That's statutorily, allotments from the state that have to be used in specific purposes. We can't use that for general fund. We also have over in the water sewer fund investments of about $900,000. Initially, that was set up as a reserve per the bond covenants that we have, that we required to have a certain amount on hand. In talking with our bond counsel, they say you're required to have 1 year of debt service at this point, since we're, I think, 10 years into the bond. 1 year of debt service on hand per the covenants, so that's around $250,000. So it's restricted in the sense that it's in the enterprise fund, and it would take council action to be able to free up those funds for anything else. We also have an agreement with Newport Fire Protection District. There's about $56,000 restricted there. And then TIF 1 and TIF 3 funds totaling about $1.2 million. Again, very restricted in how those can be used, and those cannot be transferred over to general fund other than some reimbursement for some staff time and things related to TIF. But that's already reflected in the budget. So our total restricted cash is about $2,650,000, which when you take away from the $3.8 million on hand, there's about $1.2 million of unrestricted cash reserves that we have. What I did is I carried that down and I said, okay, you start with $1.2 million of cash reserves. Right now, our fiscal year 16 budgeted deficit that you have is $1.6 million. You take that away from there, and then there's also, just because of accounting rules, there's a payback of some agreements that we have with the police and fire pension. The final payback is April of 2016, so it's during this fiscal year. It's a cash item, but it doesn't show up in your expenses just due to accounting rules. But I wanted to show cash flow to look at what we're really dealing with here. So there's $506,000 of principal on that payback that also has to be taken into consideration. So if you look at our cash shortfall for fiscal year 16, we're at about $928,000 short. So that's what we're looking at. To get through the fiscal year, we have to figure out where that $928,000 is going to come from. Again, whether it's going to come from water and sewer as a transfer to get through, into what portion, other revenue sources, cuts and expenses to get through a 12-month period. I don't know if that murkies the waters a little more, clarifies the numbers that I've been talking about, but I want to have more information.
Yeah, makes it a little worse.
Yeah.
So, Director Nabel, what you're saying is for us to have a balanced budget, we need to cut $928,000 out of the budget.
Well, $928,000 would bring our budgeted deficit down to a $500,000 deficit. We'd be using cash reserves to cover that deficit, beginning fund balances basically, to cover that deficit. We have a $1.6 million deficit budgeted. We have $1.2 million cash available. So theoretically, you could pass a $900,000 deficit budget, or a $700,000 deficit budget, use all of our cash reserves, and get through 12 months.
What is the final pension payback? What is that figure exactly?
What's it attributable to?
Yeah.
In the past, there was tax levy that was not transferred over to the pension funds. We negotiated with the pension boards to spread that repayment over a period of 4 years. They were kind enough to allow that spread. We gave them a return on the investment similar to what they were getting in the pension funds, so that it wasn't an immediate cash drain on the city to repay that. This is the 4th year of that repayment, the final year of that repayment.
All right. So that's $500,000.
Correct.
We only need 2 workshops, huh?
We need about 6 workshops on this, but I think 2 is going to have to do. But that's where we're sitting. So I would suggest, if it meets with council approval, that we have a workshop on June 9th, which is a week from today.
Are you asking, or?
I'm asking.
I'm not available June 9th.
Yeah. You're not available June 9th?
Unless it's in the daytime.
How about the 10th?
10th is okay.
Wednesday? Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. McKinney? The 10th at what time would you prefer? 5 o'clock?
AM?
AM? 5 o'clock PM. 5 PM, does that work for you? Can you? Okay, 5 PM on Wednesday, June 10th. And then our council meeting is July 7th. I think it would be a really good idea if we had something, we come to some decisions on by the 24th of June, and that gives everybody a chance to get things lined up before the 7th meeting, so we have a document that we can look at. And I would suggest that be 5 o'clock also. The 24th, they're both Wednesdays. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. So June 9th and June 24th, excuse me, June 10th and June 24th at 5 o'clock. Departmental commentary. Director Nabel.
No more budget talks, I promise. Mr. Bremner already stole my thunder a little bit on the Senator Bush letter, but residents may have received a letter from her in regards to legislation she is proposing on the impact fees. Again, the nuclear fuel rods are there through no decision of ComEd, but it's also no decision of Zions to have those remain there as well, and we're impacted by that. I would ask that everyone review that legislation, come to your own decision, your own opinion, but if you are in support of that, there is a link on her website, senatormelindabush.com, where you can sign an online petition if you are in support of that. The more feedback they get from the constituents, the better. The brochure came out, it probably, if I would have seen it, I probably would have set it aside, never looked at it, but that's why I wanted to mention it here. Please take a look at it and be informed of the issues.
Anyone else? Announcements. June 11th at 3:30 PM, there'll be an open house here at City Hall the consultants will be here to review the comprehensive plan for the city. And at 7 o'clock, there'll be a public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they'll consider adopting the comprehensive plan at 7 o'clock. June 13th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Trash to Treasures. It's a lawn sale at Shiloh Boulevard in Elisha to benefit the Zion Historical Society. June 16th, 6:30 is a town board meeting, and at 7 o'clock is Zion City Council meeting. And June 20th is the Nostalgia Days big day when Sheridan Road is closed off and thousands of people come into our community. So please join us. We have need for a closed session to discuss personnel. I have a motion and a second. Go into closed session. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell? Aye. Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye.